Okay, fourth time's the charm. Take four. I will get better at this. So I had thought. I mean, I did a whole bunch of videos on the rocket platform, uh, just because I kept on changing it and was inspired to change it and wanted to take a video about it. Then I thought, well, I should probably just take a video about all my various modules that make up first of all the space layout, but mostly this building here. And so I thought, well, I'm already into the box that stores the rocket platform, also stores the observation deck, which is this guy right here. Um, so, quick history about this little picture here. This was taken at Family Fun Fest, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. It's one of my favorite pictures ever, even though it's not composed very well. I didn't realize that this picture was going to turn out. Sandy took this picture actually, and this spaceship here is cut off. I mean, this is 100% me. Had I known, like, I should have laid this out better. This is kind of hidden, whatever. But overall, you're not looking at that. You're looking at, wow, that's a pretty big building. Now, understand in real world terms, this building is 5.5 feet tall. It's like 6 inches shorter than me, 6-7 inches shorter than me. But from a minifig view, this is how big this thing looks. And so I've always loved this picture. And Sandy got it blown up and laminated, so now it's in my room, which is fantastic. So, and I can actually use this to show you. So we're going to talk about this guy right here, the observation deck. The observation deck is one of the, I won't say the first module I built in this building, but it's the first module that was completed in this building. It really hasn't been touched a lot since it was built 10 years ago, because it just worked. Yes, it is the easiest module to build in this entire building. It's just a giant circle, a donut. But when I started building this, if you guys remember Brick World 2010, if you actually do, and you can watch some of the videos on here that I have of that, there was only these two buildings here, these two parts of the building here, and it had two landing pads on it, and that was it. And my inspiration for this building as it is, my direct inspiration was Peter Reed. I think it was Peter Reed posted on Lugnet years ago, well, over a decade ago, a micro scale space building on a alien landscape, and that building was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. It had two landing pads for spaceships coming and going, but it was micro scale. And I said, you know, it'd be really cool if somebody could build that building in minifig scale. So, and so I started working on it since 2010, well, even before 2010. And so that was the direct influence for this building. The other influences that are not as direct is I'm Canadian, and I grew up in the 70s, and the CN Tower was being built at the time. And so the whole thing has a CN Tower, yeah, not the landing pads, but the tallness and the shape of the building has a whole CN Tower vibe to it. And for the longest time, it was the world's longest, tallest freestanding building or tower in the world. And so that was always, that was part of the inspiration. The other one inspiration for this building as it is the landing pads, just like on Peter David's building, microscale, Peter Reed's microscale building. I hope I didn't say Peter David earlier, Peter Reed, is that the landing pads were far out from the building, and there was a gangway or a walkway from the landing pad to the building. So Empire Strikes Back, Cloud City, where the Millennium Falcon and Luke landed, had those big landing pads, and then the walkway to the buildings, and there's nothing but clouds and space around you. So that was part of this. As a matter of fact, the landing pads originally, if you look at my BrickFet 2011 videos, the landing pads did not look at all like this, and they were built into the diamond. The edge of the diamond enveloped the edge of the landing pads, made it stronger, to be sure. Harder to transport because you had this one big huge piece of 4 landing pads in this diamond piece. But the landing pads were built into the diamond, so it was nice and strong. And they didn't droop. after BrickFest 2011, I decided to try to move the landing pads out farther. And I did a lot of experimenting with how far I can move the landing pads out without it looking stupid and ridiculous. Because there is a point there. I don't know I don't know why, but the farther you move them out, the more ridiculous it looked. And so there's a balance between too close to the building, and too far away from the building. As well, the farther you go out, the more the landing pads would droop because of the weight. I mean, there's two layers of Technic beams that go straight across between these two I mean, I'll talk about the landing pads more later when I'm talking about the diamond and the landing pads. But I thought a quick talk about it is that the landing pads did not look right until they got to be where they are right now. And basically, that's the entire building. The entire building did not look right until it looks the way it does now. And now it's just all the micro stuff inside. So forget about that. Now we're not going to talk the entire building. We're just going to focus on the observation deck, which is right here in front of me. And as I say, it was one of the first completed modules in that entire building because it was easy. It was self-contained. There wasn't much to it. There's two big rings. It's also the very first time I did this circles thing in this entire layout. Now I did down here, these are just 4x8 wing plates from the original space sets. So that was 16 of those to make a full circle. But I didn't do the 4x9 wing plates. And as soon as I discovered this, the 4x9 wing plates, I ordered a ton of them off of Bricklink. So yes, I have just a virtual ton of 4x9 wing plates because they are my coolest piece for this stuff. So basically, here's me pulling back the curtain. Basically, you get some wing plates, and then you put a hinge plate on it, like that, and then you put a hinge plate on it, like that, and you get 36. 36. There are 36 4x9 wing plates in there, and you go like that. Boom, that's it. That is the entire wing circle. You get 36 of those, 36 wing plates, 36 hinges, and then you also have to, I found out, because the 36 gets pretty tight when you're putting it together, and actually it will bend up because it's so tight. So if you put hinges on the bottom as well, like that, it reinforces them, so you don't have to, they don't fall apart as easy, like that. And so this is how I did it back then when I built this guy. This is my first guy. And the reason why I know this is my first guy is because this is exactly how I did it. Because when I took off this piece here, I see exactly these are hinge plates. Because after I started playing with this thing, I realized that that was a lot of work to try to fill this in when I could have easily done that. And I don't know why I didn't come up with that originally. I have no idea why. This is the easiest thing in the entire universe. You keep on just daisy chaining these things across like that, right? And then what happens is that you put a 2x4 plate there, and then you put this on top to keep it. That's the main purpose of the slope bricks, is to keep the hinge plates together and on top of the 4x9. And then the 2x4 there. I didn't do that here, obviously, because I do have. Take this off again. I did change the 1x4. I just had 1x4 yellow plate here. I changed them to two 1x2 modified plates with clips on them, just because I added the Yale wires about 2 years ago. And so that's what I did there. But I didn't go back and change the actual hinge plates to go across like this because I didn't feel like taking the whole thing apart. I wasn't interested at all. So that's how you do it. And it's very easy, and it looks cool. And the other thing you can do, so this is something that I did experiment with, is that you can alternate. So you have a 4x9 wing plate, and then you have a 4x8 a 4x8 plate, and then a 4x8 wing plate, 4x9 wing plate, and a 4x8 plate. And then so you have 36 wing plates, and you have 36 4x8 plates, and then you put them, so you got 72 pieces altogether, and 72 hinge pieces, and then it makes, I don't know what the diameter would be, double, I guess, of this circle. It'd be twice the diameter. It's a much bigger circle. And then you can change that. You can put 2x8 plate instead of a 4x8 plate, which makes it a little smaller. But it still looks just as cool. I did that, but it had no place in the layout because a huge circle like that would just be stupid looking in this layout. So if I build something bigger, I know how to do it. And so now, so do you. So, and you can see that, this was the first time I used the circles, as I showed you here. And then I started experimenting, and then I built the landing pads. And that's when I used this method instead of this method, and it was just easier. So these are actually 2x4 plates holding in front of the hinge plate, and it was just so easy. Right? I don't have a lot of finicky things to hold it. And again, I always put something on top. I try to put always something on top. Here I used the roof bricks in the bottom. Let me just, so I can lift this up nicely. The bottom I use the inverted roof bricks, and that just holds it all together. There. Okay, so so what was the other issues about this guy? So the other thing is like, so this is a train platform, monorail train. So this whole circle, really, if I can show you this really quickly, I happen to have it here, is a perfect size for monorail. like I was astounded. I don't know if they planned this, but it a monorail circle fits right on that, and without my modified plates there that are holding the yellow wire, that's basically this guy here, and the monorail goes right around it, and it's a perfect circle for inside the monorail curves. Very impressive, and so that's why I do this now. So you can have a station, monorail station that follows around the curve. Yeah, and then as I said, the landing pads too. So I took this and I ran with it all over that station. So I mean, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 of these 4x9 circles, and the Habitat has 5, and the rocket platform has 2. It just works well. So back to this, some of the issues that you will face is that when I do this, these cockpits obviously have no studs on top. So when you do this, you got it's pretty solid here at the bottom, but there's no connection between the top and bottom. So this gets pretty loose sometimes. And so I had to come up with an idea to reinforce it from the back. And so originally I had dropped in a studless beam, connected from the top and the bottom. Those sandwiches those two circles together, the two 4x9 wing plates together. And so I did one on each side of the corridor, so you didn't see them as much. And that worked out well for a while. But then what happens is that if you're way over here, this piece would pop off on the inside, and you can see over there, over here, it would just come off. And so I decided just today to stop that by adding, again, more here. So I added another 8. So this is my first modification in a long time to this guy, to hopefully keep the top and bottom from separating. because I'll straight up. So this is the cheat. This is, well, it's not a cheat, but so you have the wing plate here, and the wing plate at the back is 3 studs across. But of course, the wing plate itself has those 2 studs in the middle. So how do you join that to a 3 stud piece below that? So because again, you look at the bottom, there's no way of getting 3 studs. It's only supposed to be 2 in the middle. So what I did is I put a 1x2 jumper plate right there. So that's a 1x2 jumper plate connected to the wing plate. And this is a 1x1 tile. So that fills in that gap. And then there's a 1x1 tile and there's a 1x1 jumper plate. And I did it all the way around. And then below the 1x1 or the 1x2 jumper plate and the 1x1 tile, I have a 1x1 plate or 1x3 plate. And then I have a 1x3 brick. And then I have the hinge plates again. And this just reinforces the entire thing all the way down, because if that wasn't there, you could push this and it would just break very easily. So again, 1x3 plate, 1x3 brick, some hinge bricks with 1x1 plates there, or hinge plates with 1x1 plates on each side, and then the trans yellow, and then the 1x1 bricks there, and then basically the same thing at the bottom, except at the very bottom, and I can do this by just pulling this up now because it's strong enough to do this. Then every once in a while I would come into this issue. So here is a 1x1, a 1x2 jumper plate, which connects this thing to this guy, right? And then there's also 1x2 jumper plate. And then over here, I have 2 1x2 jumper plates, which then fills in this gap that you see there. So the 1x2 jumper plate there, and a 1x2 jumper plate there, which holds the 1x3 brick, right? But jumper plates, as we all know, are not nearly as strong as straight studs, especially since we're reducing by half the number of studs that are holding this thing to this thing, right? So what happens is that invariably, and you can see it even start right there, it separates, right? So I have to push that down, and especially after many shows, they just get separated. It's like I have to constantly push this down, and it looks like, and then if that separates there at the back, this front starts bowing down because again, there's nothing in the front to hold the top to the bottom. So this kind of right? It looks a millimeter or two lower, and it kind of like swoons down and swoops back up, right? Because I can't do it here because these things are holding it together, but now I have it here, so that should get rid of that idea. The other thing I did, my original circle used all trans yellow canopies everywhere at every spot, and I thought that's just kind of blasé. It just kind of is just too uniform, so I decided to break it up. And the way I broke it up is that coming off the corridor, there's 5 trans yellow, and then there's a blue at the 6th and 7th spot. So this is 5 blue, and then 2 on the corner there, blue, and then 5 again, blue. And so I did that just to break it up because I didn't want the monotonous trans yellow look to it all the way through. So I broke it up, and then I realized a bunch of years back that you can't see behind here. You can't see because it's blue, it's solid blue. So behind every one of these blues is a pillar of 2x4 bricks that connect from this wing plate to this wing plate. So it's a cheat because, you know, if you watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, you see Frank Poole jogging around the circle, the gerbil wheel. And I thought, hey, you're thinking if you're in this space station, this is the actual universe you're living in, is that the people come up the observation deck and they just walk around the entire perimeter, the entire diameter of the inside there and watching spaceships come and go. You can't do that because there's a wall right here and right here. Again, in universe is different than trying to build a Lego. So sorry about that. Sorry to burst your bubble, but yes, this having those pillars there really hold these guys together, which in turn holds everything else together. This one is especially cool because on the back is connected to these guys, so that helps hold that together. So this should be strong enough now on its own, so I don't have to worry about, well, you can still hear it, reinforcing it anymore. I'm hoping that I don't have to reinforce it anymore. And I don't know if I talked about this in this take. Probably not. Well, I'll talk about it right now. This is the front. I put a 1x4 tile with stars on it to signify that this is the front. And the only reason why I have that is because when I'm busy setting up the tower, all these are just gravity held together. So this is 4 buildings. I think there's a demarc here, a point of where it comes apart. And this monorail track is just basically looks like this. And it just sits on top of this tower, and then this big diamond sits on top of the monorail train, please, and then this observation deck sits on top of the diamond here, and then the flight ops module here sits right on top of here, and then the cake topper sits on top of all of it. Now the cake topper is the only one that's actually studded connected. You have to put the cake topper on the flight ops layer. And it joins together with studs because it's too small to just sit there and it would fall off. This one has all these tiles here, and so the observations, the flight ops, boom, just sits right on top here. But I do have these grill tiles sitting here that stop it from sliding back and forth. So it is locked into place from horizontally, but you just pick it up. There's nothing else holding it here. I haven't had too much of an issue with somebody hitting the table and the thing falling off. And the reason why, again, I have the stars out front, because out back is where I have all my wires. And so this is quick for me to see that this goes to the front, wherever the front is. This is my EL connection now. And so the EL comes up through that hole. So through this entire thing, there's a bundle of wires that come right up from the bottom, all the way through here, all the way to the top. And of course, they have branches coming up to the various levels to light them up. But they come in through this hole here. And then they come inside, and you can see I have a Rob Hendricks or life lights. I used to know the name of this thing, but I'll just say it's a jumper wire splitter. It's a wire splitter. So the power would come in and connect to one side, and then this side, the other side goes to the flight ops. And then the yellow wire comes out underneath here. I just take this piece off, connect this thing together, and all of a sudden this module's now lit up. Fantastic. And then when I put the flight ops on top of here, I grab this thing again and I plug their wire into the other side, and all of a sudden the flight ops is lit up, and then the cake topper plugs into the flight ops and that lights up. So it just stack, all lit up as we go along. As a matter of fact, I think I'll show that to you right now. So I'm going to put the phone down here, right here if I can. I'm going to hold it like that. I'm going to reach in here. I'm going to get this thing and put it over the phone. And then I'm going to connect this thing. Oops. Let me just connect that properly. And we're lit up. I'm using these guys. I don't know if I said that yet, because I've done this 4 times. I know what I said for video. I'm using these guys from Rob. I'm not using the basic lighting kit. I'm using those guys because it was just easier to light this thing up with that. So this is it lit up. We'll go back to the front. Sorry for that. Back to the front, so you can see that the 6x8 trans yellow lit up. The windows on the side of the corridors are lit up. This is sort of lit up, but you don't see that anyway, so who cares? And then right up front and center in the observation deck is Jeannie. Yes, this is my Jeannie minifig. She's even wearing a Brick Fett t-shirt. And she's being serenaded by somebody playing the guitar. I don't know why I did that, but it's cute. And so if you go around, there's a person walking in the corridor. It's going to walk right into that wall. You can, again, this is my 2x4 pillar that you can't see. There's an alien. So I was talking to a friend years ago, and he said to fix this. I mean, people say toothpaste or whatever. No, he got 30,000 grit sandpaper from Lee Valley, and he sanded these because some of my canopies are scratched so bad, and there's Admiral somebody. That I don't know what to do with that. So I might go get some 30,000 grit sandpaper and start sanding these things, because again, some are really, really bad, and they're just bad on this outside. They're not bad on the inside. So so that's the observation deck, and all lit up with one wire. The whole thing is lit up all the way around. I'm happy with it. As I say, it was one of the first ones that I finished building in this whole layout. And it hasn't really changed much. I mean, I changed something today, and I changed something a few years back when I added the Yale wires. That's fine. And I added the reinforcements here and here, 8 of those around there. So that will stop it from hopefully separating. But other than that, this thing hasn't changed in 10 years. And it's a solid little layer for the space station, and it's done, it's complete, and I'm very happy with it because it does what it's supposed to do. It looks good. It adds to it. Without the observation deck, this tower would not look nearly as good. Straight up, I think that circle sets it off, because it's wide enough to look like it's supposed to be there, but it's not too big, and it's not doing, like, I mean, the space ops is fine, flight ops is fine, but it's really tiny. And then of course the cake topper is even tinier than that. But it doesn't overwhelm the diamond in the middle or the landing pads, but it doesn't go too small. So it adds some balance to the building. And I'm going to talk about the building a lot more when I get into the especially this whole center section, which was the toughest section to do, for the stability and weight and putting the landing pads on and stuff like that. But as I say, the observation deck was there first. It hasn't changed that much since we built it 10 years ago, and it's done its job. I just want to make it a little better today, because again, I get to a show and it's very hard to rebuild or trying to get these jumper plates to get back on the wing plates so it stays together. So hopefully this takes care of that. I didn't want to do every single one, because then it looks really, I don't know, may look ridiculous. But I'm hoping now that it does stay together. I don't know if I'm going to like it nearly as much because now there's a lot more black on the back. Before I only had 8, and now I have 16. I don't know how that's going to look when I'm at a show. I'll have to see what it looks like on top of a building. But again, usually, because it's on top of the platform, when this is 5.5 feet tall, which means the observation deck is probably around the 4 foot mark, people can't see on top. So maybe it'll work, and maybe nobody will notice these things, these holders that I'm not keen on, but I have to live with for now. Anyway, that's the video for my observation deck, and it's probably the only video I'm going to do for the observation deck because, again, it doesn't do anything except look good. As I say, it's part of the building. It's my oldest piece. It's one of the easiest pieces I built. It's one that I first completed fully and didn't have to worry about it after I finished it because it always looked right off the bat. As for the rest of the building, everything had to be modified and changed and modified so many times because it didn't look quite right until I actually got to that point, which is another story. So anyway, I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. Seriously, try this. It's a lot of fun. I even now make ovals and crap. So doing this kind of idea. But anyway, if you have any questions or comments, absolutely drop me a line. Hope everybody's doing well. Everybody take care out there, and I'll talk to you guys soon.